Hello everyone. This tutorial is about how to graph exponential function on mymathlab.com. First of all, let's start with the basic properties of the exponential function. Let's go. So, when we talk about exponential function f of x is base raised to power x. Your independent variable x is located in the exponent. Base is greater than 0 and base cannot be equal 1. There are two types of the exponential function. First, when your base is greater than 1, you might have f of x, for example, 2 to power x, and that function will look like this. And you will have second type of functions when your base will be less than 1 but greater than 0. So f of x might be 0.2 raised to power x. And then your exponential function will be just going down from left to right. Okay, let's discuss the exponential function. For example, f of x is equal to 2 to power x, this one. So we can choose values for x, and let me choose x equals 0, x equals 1, x equals -1, 2, and -2. If I want to calculate f of x 2 to power 0, I simply plug x equals 0 into the function, and I will say f of 0 will be 2 raised to power 0, so the value of the function in a second column will be 1. This will create the first coordinate on the graph, which will be 0 and 1. So here's my first coordinate. And then if I plug x equals 1 into our function, I will have value 2 for my second column. For this, I will have value 4, but if I plug f of x equals -1, then I will obtain 2 to power -1, which is the same as 1 over 2. So, and here I will have 1 over 4. I can graph these coordinates on the graph, and for first coordinate I have 0, 1. Second coordinate there will be 1 and 2. Third one will be -1 and 1/2. 2 and 4 will be in here, and -2 and 1/4 will be somewhere there. So connecting these dots produces this function that we call exponential function. This is the graph of the exponential function. F of x is equal to 2 to power x. Y-axis and x-axis is in here. Okay, so if you have a problem on mymathlab.com where you have to graph a similar function, but in this case your function is actually transform function, and what we will be graphing on mymathlab.com will be f of x is equal to 3 times 2 to power x minus 1 plus 2. This function can be obtained from the basic function. So you might start with function f of x is equal to 2 to power x. Then you do the horizontal translation on the function, which means that you take this function and move 1 unit to the right. 1 unit to the right, -1. And then you have vertical stretching of the function. F of x is equal to 3 times 2 to power x minus 1, and then you do vertical shifting of the function 2 units up, so 3 times 2 to power x minus 1 plus 2. Okay, so in order to graph this function, you have to know the information about the transformation of the function. This information can be found in chapter 2, so you do have to know about vertical stretching of the function. Let me highlight this topic, vertical stretching of the function. You have to know this. You have to know the information about horizontal stretching of the function. you have to know the information about vertical translation. So whenever we add a point to the function outside, the function will be moved up or down. And you have to recall the information about horizontal translation as well, just to graph this one function on mymathlab.com. So here we go. Once you are ready to graph this function, f of x is equal 3 times 2 to power x minus 1 plus 2, you have to choose the curve. Since you know that the curve of the exponential function with the base 2, which is greater than 1, will look something like this, you can pick this tool from your table of tools on mymathlab.com, and once you pick this curve, you have to calculate at least one point to be able to put this curve on the graph. So I guess the best point to calculate would be a point when x is equal 1. When x is equal 1, then f of x equals 1 will be 3 times 2 to power 1 minus 1 plus 2, which will be equal 5. So when x is equal 1, the value of the function will be 5. And once I grab this tool from the table of tools, then I will be able to graph this function here. Once I clicked on the curve, the next box will pop up. And that will be the box where you have to show all the transformations of the function that we just went over. Make sure that your base here in the box will be 2. Then they will ask you about vertical stretching. The value in here is 3. Let me change the color. So the value there will be 3. They also ask you about the horizontal stretching and horizontal shrinking, even though you will tell me that there is no horizontal stretching or shrinking. But if you will look at your function, f of x is equal 3 times 2 to power x minus 1, but you can say that this is multiplied by 1. That's why the value here for the horizontal stretching and shrinking is 1 that you have to keep on mymathlab.com. Then they also ask you about horizontal shift. So the horizontal shift, you move your function to the right, and it means that you have to pick positive 1 here. Then you have a vertical shift, which is 2 units up. If you would have a horizontal shift to the left, your unit would be negative in here. So once you are done doing the transformation of your function, you go and click on this button which says save, and the next what you see on mymathlab.com will be the graph that will pop up on the coordinate system. So you see, you can tell that this point here is actually 1 and 5. That's how you know that you are right about graphing. Then you can put a couple extra points on the graph. For example, you can take a point such as x equals 2 and plug it into a function to see if your curve is completely correct. Then you click check my work and you will see well done. Good luck.